Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a big subject at the moment. And over the last 12 months, we've seen enormous growth, and Bitcoin's last night reaching 50,000. We're seeing companies like Tesla, Facebook, Apple, PayPal, large life insurance companies joining in on this asset class. Jim, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, this subject is becoming the elephant in the room. You have mentioned over the last year that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are not sustainable. You said it will hit the brick wall. You have painted a very great picture for this currency. Do you still believe this?
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is basically garbage. If you want to buy it, knock yourself out. But it's junk. Now you can say, well, why is it going up? Well, it's like any other bubble. Just look at a chart. It looks like every other bubble. It looks like the Nikkei in 1989. It looks like the Nasdaq in 1999. It just says bubble dynamics. But what people don't understand is the extent of the fraud in the Bitcoin price. A couple of things. First of all, gold, Bitcoin's trivial relative to gold. There's about $1 trillion of market cap in Bitcoin versus $24 trillion of market cap in gold. So that's not counting gold miners and paper gold and other forms of gold, et cetera. So it's the market's tiny. But here's what's driving Bitcoin. There's something called Tether. Tether was just basically there was a settlement yesterday with the New York State Attorney General where Tether admitted fraud, paid a fine. But here's what's going on with Tether. So Tether says they call themselves a stable coin, meaning you give them $1, they give you a tether, and they say one tether equals $1. Okay, so so you get your tether. Why do people want the tether? Well, they're using it in exchanges, not some of the couple of the more reputable exchanges, which do not accept Tether, by the way, but there are all kinds of exchanges around the world that don't have any money laundering rules, don't have know your customer rules, are not regulated, et cetera. And people are using the Tether to go buy Bitcoin. Sometimes they offer leverage, et cetera, and they're bidding up the price of Bitcoin. Now, just kind of take that in reverse. So what happens when people want to sell the Bitcoin for Tether and then cash in the Tether for the dollars? Where are the dollars? There's no evidence that they have the dollars. In fact, they don't. They just kind of print Tether as it goes along. This is the greatest Ponzi in history. It makes Bernie Madoff look like a prudent banker. People are too naive to understand what's going on. But the point is, it's not worth anything. I tried buying a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. You can't do it. So you can't spend it. It's an open-ended speculation. If you like it, go for it. Be my guest. But it's a fantastic Ponzi scheme being driven by the fraud in Tether. And if you want to buy Bitcoin, do your homework and study what's going on in Tether. Look at where the Bitcoin purchases come from. They come from Tether. They don't come from hard dollars. And Tether says they take the hard dollars and they back it up, but they've never shown their bank account. They claim to have more dollars and their bank is in the Bahamas, but the number they claim, which has never been audited and never been visible, is greater than the combined dollar banking assets of the total Bahamian banking system by a factor of 10. So you tell me where the dollars are. They're long gone. They're being skimmed off by the billions, and these people are going to be left hung out to dry. So as we say in New Jersey, enjoy.
And this is what I see as potential, but not proven. The play in Bitcoin, it's never going to produce anything. You just buy stuff with it. It's kind of stupid. Is to build it up, like Jim was saying earlier, if gold could get up to a certain level of value, it could be a backing for currencies, okay? They want Bitcoin to replace gold as a backing for currencies, and it has to get accepted enough. It's only at 2%, 3% US adoption and 1% global. So it could get a lot more, and they fixed the price to kind of force that, which is kind of weird, but that's what they're doing. They want it to become accepted enough that it can become a standard, and Bitcoin could become worth 10 or 20 trillion dollars and rival gold in that. And by the way, I got numbers more like 11 trillion dollars on gold, and it is right about 1 trillion. I may be wrong about gold, but that's what I got. Blockchain is different. Blockchain actually is software that deals with financial assets in the real world of the internet and stuff, and that has potential, but none of these companies are profitable like the .com. So that's why I think Bitcoin is going to collapse. It may or may not survive and become that standard, but that's the game.
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now let's continue.
It's not to say Bitcoin, and anybody I know that in the Bitcoin, they think it's going to go up forever to $1 million. They wouldn't dare buy anything with it, even if you could, because the great story in the crypto community is the guy that bought the first pizza on it, and it cost him $42 million, 3 years later. So it is kind of insane, but it is an early stage industry. Now, I do think, real quick, gold should be performing. Even I was predicting it would go up to $2,200 in the early stage of this crash. It is underperforming, and it's because of a misperception. As I said earlier, I think gold investors think money printing does automatically create inflation, like Milton Friedman kind of thing. And then when inflation didn't come, that's why gold had its first crash. There's the perception that Bitcoin is an inflation hedge. I literally listened to Paul Tudor Jones at the Tony Robbins Platt conference I speak at every year. Come and say he is buying Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. I'm like, what? It's not an inflation hedge. Gold is a legitimate, and even commodities and real estate are inflation at hard assets. It is not an inflation hedge, but there is that perception. And I hear more and more people on CNBC, oh, yeah, we're using this as an inflation hedge, which means they're substituting it for gold. That is an error. And that is another reason I think Bitcoin's going to go down 95% before we see if it survives or not. If it does survive, and Ethereum and some of the more real companies like blockchain, I would consider investing them as new tech companies. But Bitcoin is a huge question mark, but it's not about producing something. It is about becoming a standard that's unproven. It could happen. I could see it happening, but it is unproven.
Well, actually, gold never wins or loses because it's an element, it's atomic number 79. It is what it is. If you have a gold coin and you put it in a drawer and you go away for a year and you come back and open the drawer, you got one gold coin. It didn't multiply itself. So what happens is the dollar price of gold goes up or it goes down. You got different forecasts. But when that happens, nothing happens to gold. It tells you something about the dollar. And the dollar price of gold is the temperature of the dollar. So when the dollar price of gold goes up, all that's really nothing's happening to gold. It's just the dollar is getting weaker. When the dollar price of gold goes down, nothing's happening to gold. It's just that the dollar is getting stronger. So fluctuation in the dollar price of gold really tells you more about the dollar than it does about gold. And so if you say to me, is gold going to win? Yeah, gold's going to win a lot. But what it really means is the dollar is going to collapse. So $10,000 gold, and that is my forecast. I think it actually will be higher, but I'm comfortable saying $10,000 gold or higher. That's my forecast. That's not a big win if you're a gold holder, because what really happened was the value of the dollar collapsed. But the reason to have gold is because it protects all of your other assets. In the world of $10,000 gold is the world where everything else has crashed. And so the gold will preserve your wealth. So yeah, gold's going to go up a lot. It's going to go up a lot for the reasons I mentioned.